Hi, I'm Luis Vera, and I am presenting my flag project, which creates a window of type JFrame and draws the Venezuelan flag, complete with stars and seal, on the window. And so this is my project. It contains all the classes necessary to make this happen. And so starting from the top, this is the draw flag class, which allows you to create an object of type draw flag. And this contains all the color, all the graphics definitions. So it actually draws the flag itself. So from the top, this imports the java.art library, which contains the graphics classes necessary to define rectangles and colors and all shapes. And so this defines the primary variables in the class, which are the coordinates of the top left corner of the flag and the height and length of the same. And so
are those variables private or public?
Public right now.
Okay, and why would you want to make those variables public?
I mean, for this particular application, it's a flag. There isn't much security risk involved in them knowing the coordinates of your flag. Now, this is what a bank account class or anything that needed hiding security. You would make this a private int, so only that particular method could access those variables.
And the objects that you make inside of the class would only be able to access those variables, as opposed to being able to access it outside of the class.
Exactly. Okay. Now, this is the constructor, which takes 3 parameters: the x and y integers, which are the coordinates of the upper left corner, and the height, from which the length is derived. It's the flag is in a 3:2 ratio, so you just multiply 1.5 times the height to get the length. And so this itself is the draw method, which takes a parameter of type Graphics2D, which is a part of the Graphics2D class in the alt library, which stores all the methods necessary to make rectangles and color the same, and so on.
So if you didn't import java.art.asterisk, you would have had to import java.art.graphics2D.
Exactly.
Do you have any other class other than Graphics2D that you use?
Graphics, the class graphics, not Graphics2D, comes up every so often, and so just to be on the safe side, I imported everything in java.art just to prevent any conflicts.
Okay.
And so the first couple statements are color definitions, which are, they use RGB values, and you define specific shades of the colors you want to use in the flag, as opposed to the defaults, which
so those are the authentic colors of the Venezuelan flag.
Of the flag.
The RGB values for those.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so these top, middle, and bottom rect are new objects of type rectangle, which is a class found in Graphics2D.
Okay.
And so what ends up happening is you define the top coordinates, which are x corner and y corner, and these vary. For example, the middle rectangle would start at this x coordinate, the top, and then the y corner would be the top left corner of the flag plus a third of the height. So instead of starting up here, it would start down here.
Well, show me
I'll
using,
For example, let's say, yes, this is your flag. This would be x and y corner. And so to find the middle rectangle, you define the width, the height, the width, and this x coordinate, and this y coordinate, plus a third of the height, and so on. And so these are the primary colors of the flag, because the Venezuelan flag is yellow, blue, and red.
Okay, now that x plus 1/3 of the height, where is that particular point in the drawing?
Here, the upper left corner of the second.
Okay, what about the beginning of that third?
Of this third rectangle?
Yeah.
This would be y plus 2/3 of the height.
Okay.
So that is down here.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, great.
And so the next couple statements, or actually in between these statements, you see G set color, because you have to set the active color that the program is using to whatever color you desire at that moment. And then G.fill colors the rectangle itself, makes it visible. Otherwise, you won't be able to see it.
So if you didn't use the set color method anywhere else in your code, every time you wanted to fill an enclosed boundary, it would be that yellow, right?
Exactly. And so these are the stars. Now, because Graphics2D doesn't actually have a star class within it, I define them as rectangles, for the sake of convenience.
Okay, show me on the draw what you're talking about.
Okay.
Show me that code. Show me the idea behind it visually.
Okay. So, assuming that is your flag, scaled up. Because Graphics2D doesn't contain little star objects that you can draw, rectangle method work is the one from above, where you define the top coordinates and the height and the width.
Right.
So each of these stars is 8 pixels square.
Right. Now, how did you get them in a triangular?
You define the y coordinates essentially. So you define the coordinates of this one, of that one, this one, this one, that one, this one, and so on. So you get like that. It's really a trial and error kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
And so g.setColor sets the active color to white, and then the next 7 fill statements just colors those stars white.
Okay.
And so this bottom portion is the seal found in the top, in the upper left corner of the Venezuelan flag. And so again, because of the constraints on Graphics2D, I had to make it more pixelated than you would normally see.
Right, that's fine.
And so I split it into the leaves, the 3 leaves found in the flag, which serve as the borders, the ribbons, which serve as the bottom of the seal, and the 2 panels. There are actually 3 panels. There's a yellow, a red, and a blue panel. But because the top rectangle is already yellow, I only had to define 2 panels and color those. The other ones stayed the default yellow.
Okay.
And so, again, I just created objects of type rectangle and set the active color and filled those. Now, these colors are new colors I had to define because green I hadn't already defined, and the shades of red and blue wouldn't be appropriate for the panel. It's a slightly darker shade. And so these are, again, RGB values. And so this is the draw flag class itself. Now, in order to use that in JFrame, you have to reference that class in another class called flag_comp, which extends a J component, which is a subset of JFrame. And so, again, you import the java.auth.asterisk library, which contains the graphics and Graphics2D classes, and javax.swing.j component, which contains the data necessary to make this a J component. Otherwise, JFrame would not recognize it as
Right.
part of itself.
So you're basically creating a J component inside of a JFrame that uses javax.swing.j component to take care of the basically what they call the black box. You don't actually see the code
Correct.
that's used, but you can access it by importing it there.
Exactly.
Okay. So explain that.
And so this is rather simple. This is just, you have a paint component method. The name is actually needs to be specific. You cannot name that method anything you want because otherwise JFrame will not recognize it.
Okay.
I ran into that particular difficulty while I was making this.
How did you resolve it?
By renaming. I had named it flag component, and JFrame was running properly, but the component wasn't being imported, and so it was just a blank screen. If you don't name it, once you change it to paint component, JFrame will recognize it and draw whatever you need to draw on the screen.
So if you had looked at the API, the documentation for J component, you would have seen a method paint component?
Exactly.
Okay. So I'll provide the documentation for you.
Okay.
So that you can see what other methods are there, just in case in the future you may want to use methods that you're not using now.
Okay. And okay, so this creates an object of type Graphics2D for use in the draw flag class, and this is an interesting constructor. It doesn't use the keyword new, but as far as I know, it just references the Graphics2D library and references the G object of type graphics.
It's almost like it's casting it. That's the notation that's used for typecasting, as opposed to creating a new instance of a class. Like when you want to force an int to be a double, you put in parentheses double in front of that int variable. It's kind of like the same notation.
Right. Yeah, that's probably what it's doing. Okay. So the next line is just creating the draw flag object using the other class I showed you.
Okay.
And you name that flag, and you pass the 3 parameters, which are 0, 0, meaning it will start drawing the flag at the upper left corner of the window you create.
Right.
And it defines the height as 240 pixels, meaning the width or the length would be 360 pixels. And so here it calls the draw method within draw flag and passes the G2 object that you just created. And that's all there is to this class. Now,
okay, what's your third class?
the third class is the flag that actually creates the window and displays it, and this is flag viewer. And so here, again, you import javax.swing.jframe, which contains the data necessary to create the window itself. And this is the class name and the main method, which contains the actual code. And so it creates a new window of type JFrame called frame, and sets the size of that to 400 pixels wide, 340 long.
Right.
And this is the default close operation. So JFrame, if you don't define the default close operation, it won't clear the window once you close it. So the window will disappear, but it'll still be running that routine, like behind the scenes. This tells it to stop the routine once you hit the button, in case you do want to close it. So this references the flag comp class and creates a new instance of that called component, and frame.add adds the component to the window itself, and frame.setVisible makes the window visible. And so if I run that,
Okay, guys, take a look at this real quickly. Emma, take a look at this.
Okay.
All of this code that he's been explaining for the last 15 minutes or so is all just to draw that right there.
What?
Yeah. Okay, you see how difficult it is to do graphics? Okay, there's a lot of coding involved, okay? So a program like Photoshop or, something like Pixlr, there's a lot of coding that's going on while you're actually drawing like a little squiggly line.
That's why it costs me more.
Well, yeah, so, yeah, very good, Louis. It is very pixelated, like you said, but it is a good example of, using several classes and making objects that interact with methods of those different classes. So, if you were to summarize this project, if you were to give it a title, what would it be?
the use of imported libraries and various classes to draw the Venezuelan flag.
Okay. Right. The use of the Graphics2D class
Right.
to create a flag